Hey there, I'm Julie Barrett, founder of Conservative Ladies of America and Conservative Ladies of Washington, and I'm back again with another bill of the day. Today's bill is actually a really good bill, and it is an issue that is very personal to me and to my family, and it's something I'm very passionate about, something our entire organization is very passionate about. And so I am excited to share this with you today. Representative Jim Walsh of the state of Washington in the 19th Legislative District down in Grays Harbor has filed House Bill 1176. This bill would raise the minimum age for minor children to receive some healthcare services from the age of 13, where it currently is, to the age of 17. Now, Washington state has what they call the mature minor doctrine, which allows children 13 and over to give informed consent to for various medical and mental health services in the state of Washington. This has been a law for a very, very long time. I think it goes back to the 80s, if memory serves correctly. But over the last several years, the state has actually, the Democrats primarily, have passed many more pieces of legislation that have strengthened these laws and actually increased the ability for children, sometimes of no minimum age, to access different services. One that got a lot of publicity was 2 years ago in 2023, which was Senate Bill 5599, which allowed children seeking what the state defines as protected health care, as abortion and so called gender affirming care. They can access these services not just without parental consent, but without even parental notification. And they can be housed in a host home or a homeless youth shelter to access these services, and their parents won't even know where they are. So things have really gone sideways in Washington state. And if you have been watching or tracking with Conservative Ladies since I began this organization almost 4 years ago now, in 2021, our family came face to face with these laws in Washington when our daughter, who was 14 at the time, had a mental health crisis and was at Seattle Children's Hospital, who then sent her without our consent to a homeless youth shelter. And that really spiraled into a few years worth of issues that we had with Washington state, and really trying to get our child the health care that she needed and the help that she needed, and trying to be involved in that care. So that is why this issue is very important to me. If you would like to know more about our story, I'll link up an article that author Abigail Schreier wrote about what we went through. It's very comprehensive and detailed, and really explains just how awful the system is. And so that's the reason why I'm so passionate about this. That's why even after I have left the state of Washington, I continue to sound the alarm, to educate parents about what the laws are in Washington so that they can take steps to protect their children, protect their families. And this bill, House Bill 1176, it's very unlikely that it will get a hearing because the Democrats have control of the legislature. So they get to decide which bills get to have hearings and which do not. And of course, the Democrats are the ones that have passed all these radical policies that allow children to make these decisions without their parents even being notified in many cases. So the likelihood of this getting a hearing is very, very small, very small, almost none. But we are going to be very loud about it because I think, and our whole team here at Conservative Ladies of America, especially our Conservative Ladies of Washington team, feels very strongly about supporting this bill and letting parents know that there are legislators who are fighting to protect your children, to protect your family. And we need to let people know that these policies are out there so that they can speak up and reach out to your Democrat legislators and ask them to give this bill a hearing. It may or may not make a difference, but if we don't ask, it won't happen for sure. So please ask. I'm going to link up in the description a really quick call to action on our Legislative Action Center where you can send an email to your state legislators. You have two state representatives. And since this is a House bill, it's going to go to the representatives for now. But we want you to email them and ask them to give this a hearing. It'll take you 30 seconds. If you want to personalize the email, it might take you a little bit longer, which I recommend doing if you have the time and if you have some personal thoughts about this issue. Please take time to personalize it. So let's get back to kind of the details of the bill. Under House Bill 1176, minor children must be at least 17 years old to consent to STD-related treatment, inpatient mental health or substance use disorder treatment, and other specified health services. So it's not going to like broadly blanket everything because like I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, you have these protected health services. That's a whole other law. So you'd have to repeal other laws. So this bill is a step in the right direction. Another thing that this bill would do with abortion being protected health care and children being able to get abortions without parents' consent or notification, this bill would ensure that parents who didn't consent to abortion wouldn't be held financially responsible for the abortion, and it bars state funds from covering abortion procedures for minor children under the age of 17 unless the minor child's life is in imminent danger. So that's another really great piece of this bill that I think a lot of people, even people who are pro-choice, would support the idea that they're not having to fund abortions that they didn't even know about or consent to for their children. I'm going to read a quote from Representative Jim Walsh that he put on his website, which will be linked below as well. My wife and I raised 5 children. From that, I know that a minor child who's 13 or 14 years old simply doesn't have enough wisdom or experience to make informed choices about physical or mental health care. They are susceptible to all kinds of influences, some not good. Those minor children need parents, grandparents, and family members to look out for them, to protect them. That's what good parents do. That's what families do. So he's absolutely right about the influences. And I wanted to take a moment to share about that because one of the things that we learned through all of our experiences with a number of different mental health and medical health facilities in the state of Washington, particularly in Western Washington, you have a lot of activists, social workers, and activists who have these roles in the medical and mental health professions. It's very scary. And these people do get in the ear of your child and influence them and manipulate them. And it's very scary. Along with that, there are legal organizations in Washington. One of them is LCYF. I forget what it stands for off of the top of my head, but Children, Youth, Families, Legal Services for Children, Youth, and Families, I think. And they actually will contact these children and they will provide legal services for these children. A lawyer from LCYF contacted my daughter back in 2021 when she was 14 years old, and she was actually in Seattle Children's Hospital. They were contacting her through her school email, trying to provide services for her. So they will do everything to access your kids and circumvent you, the parent. It's very scary. And they can get these kids basically emancipated from their parents without the parents even having a say, sometimes not even knowing that all this stuff is going on if they're doing it in secret through a shelter or some kind of host home situation like that. So this is very serious. Washington is a very unsafe place for children, and parents need to know that so that they can take steps to protect their children. And you should know this for when you are taking your child to doctor's appointments and mental health appointments and things like that. You can have your child fill out a release of authorization so that the provider can share the information with you. So that's an important conversation that you should have with your child as soon as possible. You know, if they're 12 or older, I would start having those conversations. So House Bill 1176 is an excellent bill, and we hope that it might get a hearing. It probably won't, but I do want to impress upon you that even though it seems like a futile fight, we must be loud about this. We must speak up in an effort to protect our children, even if we meet a dead end. So please make sure that you do the call to action that's in the description below. That's super important. It'll take you 30 seconds, I promise. And if you would please share it with other parents that you know, other citizens that you know, this is a good bill that would be a step in the right direction to protecting Washington children. So, House Bill 1176, a huge thank you to Representative Jim Walsh, who's always out there trying to protect the children. Thanks for watching. Make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn that notification button on. And please make sure you like this video and share it with all of your friends. And I look forward to seeing you again next time.